609 AD, when the Prophet Muhammad was credited for writing, "You cannot attain righteousness until you give to charity from the possessions that you love. Whatever you give to charity, God is fully amazed thereof." He also said the usury, which are investments, that is the practice to increase someone's wealth, does not come from God. But if you give to charity, God's pleasure will be upon you. For my Christian brothers and sisters, King Solomon once wrote in 931 BC, "A generous person will prosper. Whoever refreshes others will also be refreshed." Going back further, around 1400 BC, an ancient Egyptian Luxor temple once had hieroglyphics inscribed that said, "Social good is what brings peace to family and society." And last but not least, around 1500 BC, an interpretation of the Rig Veda, one of Hindu sacred texts, says, "Do not let anyone die of hunger. Gods have not given a death sentence to the poor, the hungry, or the unfortunate. It is not like those with full bellies, which represents us, will never die." Then why not share your excess? Give. And this is the statement you may be more familiar with. Live and let live. With those religions representing 67% of our population, they clearly state the way to prosperity is to give. Would it surprise you as me as a financial advisor, only a few people have came to me asking for a giving strategy. They say, "Randall, can you help me save? Randall, can you help me pay off debt? Randall, can you help me with my investments?" When all they needed to do was to give on a regular basis with the right heart. Madam Toastmaster, fellow Toastmaster, and honored guest, I dare talk about a subject rarely talked about outside of your place of worship. If you believe the statements that I stated before are true, then me not shining a light on giving keeps bound the way to prosperity in a righteous manner. I want to talk about 3 benefits that comes from giving. The first benefit is benefits place a hedge on your lifestyle and your income. And it also enables you to relate to many different peoples and their lifestyles. First, let me define what the word hedge stands for. When you think about hedging, think about reducing your risk. A homeowner has hedged their risk of homeownership by purchasing homeowners insurance. An individual has hedged their healthcare costs by buying healthcare insurance. So how does giving reduce your risk on life? Let's say that you earn $100 a week and you decided to give 20% of your income to charity. That represents $20. To reduce your lifestyle to live within your budget, you have to live on $80 a week. Now here comes the reduced risk part. Let's say that you feel you're about to get laid off, or your boss asks you to do something that goes against your moral nature. When you look to replace that income, you would begin with the job at $80. Now let's say you lived on 100% of your income. That's $100 per week. You would have to first look to replace that income dollar for dollar. You see, when you give, it actually gives you more flexibility. With that $20 giving difference, you can focus on replacing your income with a role that is actually more fulfilling. The role can turn out to earn you more than that $100 a week to begin with because you're focusing on your enjoyment. Now, the human factor of giving, being able to relate to so many different lifestyles. First, you can relate to somebody who lives on $80 a week. You can also relate to the effort it takes to earn $100 a week. And not to mention, you develop empathy for the individuals that you give to. The second benefit to giving is you actually are making a bet on life. There's so many places to put your money. You can give to the youth, you can give to the elderly, the poor, the sick. It actually becomes a bit overwhelming. When you give, you're making a conscious decision with hopes and dreams that you will actually make a difference. Those thoughts take calculations. It takes into account your own personal biases and beliefs. It actually makes you understand who you are by the very act of giving. When you give with your heart of hearts, this exercise changes you to who you were really meant to be. When speaking of hearts, it leads me to my third benefit. Giving puts your heart on the line. As we discussed, when you give, you are actually making a bet. You're no longer just a passerby looking past the needs of distress. You have put your hard-earned money to work for something that you genuinely care about. When you do anything with your body, with your money, you naturally yearn for a return on your investment. As the psalmist says, it is like a deer panting for water on a hot summer day in the desert. So let's quickly recap. There are 3 benefits that you receive when you give. The first benefit is it takes a hedge on your life and allows you to relate to more people. The second benefit is you are making a bet on life. You're not just passing by the needs of distress. And the third benefit is that you put your heart on the line. As you can imagine, there are infinite benefits to giving. And this conversation cannot cover everything. My only request is that you talk about giving outside of your place of worship. Bring it into your home. Talk about it with your kids. Talk about it with your spouse, because it could change your life. It could change your heart, and it can even change your spirit. And always, always remember, live, but also let live. Madam Toastmaster.
All right, thank you.